And we're live. Yay, we're live.
Hello, people and fellow peoples.
People, animals, dead people, whatever you are. Hi.
More and more animals just come to my house.
You do know how to attract the animals. Tell everybody about your new adventure.
My new adventure. Okay, so I got home from work today and I no longer got in the house, and we looked out the back door, and Jordan was like, "Is Jasper outside? When did he go outside? Because he's been staying inside because it's gotten cold." And he was on the bed, and we're like, "Oh, that's not Jasper." So I just went outside, and there was a cat wandered into our yard. It was hiding under the chicken coop, and as soon as I walked out there and crouched down, it came running to me.
Aww.
It was so happy to see a person.
I bet.
And it was very hungry. So we fed it. We have it in the garage. May or may not find the owners. I don't know. Last week we had, or was it the weekend after Thanksgiving? So last weekend.
Yeah.
Weekend before last. There you go. We had that dog show up.
Mm-hmm.
Previous to that, we've had 2 other dogs show up. They just come here. They just congregate.
I mean, it runs in the family. We know how to attract wayward animals.
I mean, it looks just like Jasper.
It does. It looks exactly like your cat. It's really bizarre.
If it had a clipped ear, I would have thought it was. But yeah, and if we don't find its home, if it doesn't have a home, well, it found a home with us.
Well, good.
So we're probably just gonna keep it as an outside cat.
Fair enough.
Yeah, turn it into a barn kitty. We need somebody to patrol the squirrels and birds around here so they stay out of my garden.
Fair enough.
And protect my blackberries.
Maybe the cat has been sent from a higher power to protect said blackberries.
I mean, the universe does strange things, and there's a squirrel out there that ate all my mulberries this last year.
Fucking squirrels.
Yes, and I told the forest that I was not going to be the one to kill it. It needed to figure it out on its own. Maybe it beckoned the kitty cat. I don't know.
I mean, you put up an electric fence and let the squirrel or whatever do its own thing. Because I'll never forget a couple years ago coming home from Michigan Paracon, and it was when I moved to the lost city of Damon. Come home, there's this giant ass squirrel tangled in the electric wiring. It basically fried itself to death trying to get into the dog pen. And this squirrel had to have weighed 20 fucking pounds. The biggest squirrel I've ever seen in my life. And I had the pleasure of detangling its lacerated corpse from the wire, broke the electric fence in the process.
We could have fried squirrel that day.
You know, Bigfoot had fried squirrel because I threw its ass out in the woods because I wasn't dealing with it.
Mom feeds them good up there.
Yeah, she does. I've never seen a squirrel. Huge! Damn squirrels. So, but anyway, speaking of weird deaths, that is what we are covering tonight is controversial deaths. If you know of any controversial deaths and want to join in on the conversation, just leave us a comment and we'll talk about it.
Excuse me.
He's very
I do that too much.
And if you guys have noticed, we are down a Roberts. Mom is probably not going to be joining us tonight as she is celebrating with Dad their 36th anniversary. So yesterday was their anniversary, but they're celebrating tonight. So if you want to wish them a happy one, I will send the message along.
They're celebrating it on Krampus Day.
Is that what today is?
Yeah, today's Krampus Day.
Oh.
Because it's the day before was it St. Nicholas Day or my calendar? No, my calendar doesn't say.
I'm really bad about keeping up with stuff like that, so I couldn't. I'm lucky to remember the day of the week.
Hanukkah's later this week. Is that tomorrow? No. Thursday, I think. Hanukkah starts Thursday, I think.
Oh. Yay! I don't know. We're not Jewish, but we support y'all that celebrate. Have fun.
Yeah, you get to party for like a week and a half or 2 weeks.
So do you want me to start it off or do you want to start off?
Go for it.
Hey, so one of the biggest controversial deaths that I even remember from when I was little was Princess Di. I just remember being really little and Mom loved Princess Diana. Like, she would fashion her hair after her. She would talk about her constantly. She watched the wedding between her and Charles. Like, she was all about Princess Di. She collected every single magazine that had her on it. And I will never forget the day they broke the news that she died. Mom cried. So it was crazy because it happened in 1997. So I was only 6. But I still remember it. I'm like, why is Mom so upset? We don't even know this lady. Who is this lady? But I'll never forget it. It was crazy.
She was a huge public figure in our parents' generation's eyes.
Yeah. She did so much,
especially for women.
Absolutely. And I mean, not to mention the fact she did on camera. She hugged that child that had AIDS to break that. What's the word I'm looking for? Stigma. Thank you. To show that, you can still touch and show love and it's not going to harm you. So she did that. She did work with landmines. She did so much stuff. She was an incredible woman. We had talked about it a little bit on, I think last week we had mentioned it. So we follow the show The Crown on Netflix because they've done a really good job on telling the story of Queen Elizabeth. Naturally, there's going to be some stuff fabricated because it's a TV show, but if you fact check the events that they cover in the show, they do a really good job. And in this latest season, they actually covered Princess Diana's death, and they did it in a very tasteful fashion. So they didn't actually show the accident. They never showed a body or anything like that. It was very well done. It was very respectful. So we were pretty happy with it. So Princess Diana died in Paris on August 31st, 1997. It was a very tragic car accident. They blamed it on her driver who hit a pillar in a tunnel, but there are conspiracy theories as to what really happened. So she and her companion, Dodi Fayed, I may be saying his last name wrong, and their driver, Henry Paul, died in the crash. Bodyguard Trevor Rees-Jones was badly injured and was in the hospital for more than a month. So one of the allegations is, was it an accident or was it a murder? So the allegation is Mohammed Al-Fayed, the former Harrods owner and Dodi's father, believes Diana and Dodi were the victims of a murder plot involving the British security services and Prince Philip, who acted before the couple could announce their engagement. So the British coroner, Lord Justice Scott Baker, said there is no evidence to support Mohammed's theory that there is a conspiracy involving the British Secret Services and Prince Philip, who is the late husband to now the late Queen. Al-Fayed's request for a judicial review linked to the coroner's inquest was denied. Forensic expert Angela Gallup examined evidence relating to the 1997 car crash and found no grounds to support a murder claim. Another theory asks the question if Diana was pregnant. So again, Dodi's father claimed that perhaps Princess Di was pregnant. His theory was fueled by a 2003 article in The Independent citing an unnamed senior French police source suggesting a cover-up of the pregnancy. But when they did the investigation, Rosa Monckton, who was a close friend of Diana, said she was with the princess shortly before her death and knew Diana was not pregnant. Forensic expert Angela Gallup analyzed Diana's stomach contents for Operation Paget, the Metropolitan Police Inquiry, and also said Diana was not pregnant. So they did confirm that. The third theory, did a flash of light distract driver Henry Paul in the dark tunnel? So the allegation thinks that maybe somebody deliberately disoriented him by flashing a light in the dark tunnel while they were driving. So they were trying to flee the press. They were being heavily harassed by so many reporters, so many cameras, because Dodi and Diana were, perusing Paris and just trying to be two regular people. But they didn't have that luxury because of Diana's status. So everywhere they went, they were chased. Reporters were jumping on top of cars. They were getting on scooters. They were banging on the window of the cars. They were driving down the road. They would not leave them alone. So it was no different when they died. So a former M16 agent, Richard Tomlinson, who was dismissed by the British Security Services, told Mohammed, Dodi's dad, that the security services planned to sabotage Serbian leader Slobodan by dazzling a flashlight in a road tunnel to cause a fatal accident, which sounded eerily similar to the Diana theory. So when they investigated this, Tomlinson backtracked on his statement while testifying at an inquest in 2008, saying he may have confused his details. A second M16 witness told the inquest that such a document had been drawn up, but denied Milosevic was the target and noted his M16 superiors dismissed the plan as out of the question. So then the question was asked, was the British Special Air Services involved? So for decades, some conspiracy theorists have believed the SAS was involved. Scotland Yard even launched a probe after an ex-soldier known as Soldier N allegedly claimed that the princess was murdered by the Special Forces unit who flashed a light using a technique developed to combat terrorists. So when they delved into this investigation, Soldier N's claims about Diana's death were sent to police in July of 2013 after the court-martial of another SAS sniper. Soldier N was initially given 2 years detention for his part, then retried and given a suspended 2-year jail term. Scotland Yard dismissed reports that SAS troops were behind Diana and Dodi's deaths, insisting there was no credible evidence. So then it was asked if Henry Paul, the driver, was actually a spy. So ex-M16 officer Tomlinson initially accused Henry Paul of being a paid M16 informant, then later said he couldn't be certain, and writer-broadcaster Gerald Posner said an NSA source told him that Henry Paul had a meeting with a member of the French DGSE on the evening he died. The London inquest heard that Paul was carrying about $1,500, adding fuel to the fire. So in the Great Hall of Mirrors, it's difficult to know if Paul was a spy. DGSE denied knowledge of Paul, but 2 documents in the French judicial dossier of Judge Hervé Stéphane showed a link between Paul and the DGSE, the domestic French intelligence agency that deals with espionage. Paul may not have been a paid M16 informer, but Lord Stevens believed he was likely a low-level informant for the French secret services and police. So then they asked if Henry Paul was drunk when he crashed in the Paris tunnels. This poor driver, even after death, he just can't catch a break. So while Henry Paul was described as drunk before he left the Ritz with Princess Di and Dodi and bodyguard Trevor, there was no consensus among witnesses, and some even thought he was sober. So how much did he really drink? The French investigators concluded that Paul's alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. Laws differ across Europe, however, so by other measures, Paul was only twice the British legal limit. In any event, he was over the legal limit if the blood samples were actually his. Professor Atal Johnston, a clinical pharmacologist, told investigators that one of the blood samples was probably not Paul's, but other experts disagreed. In any event, if there was a mix-up, the authorities decided it was likely accidental. But how convenient that they just would so happen to fuck up a blood sample.
Oh yeah, how convenient is that?
So that's a little weird. How do you mix that?
Yeah, as such a high stakes case,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
You would think it would be highly scrutinized. So the 7 theories: did someone tamper with the seatbelts in the Mercedes? According to Britain's tabloid newspapers, detectives examined evidence that the seatbelt fastening pins were filed down. But then again, detectives examined every inch of the car, so it wouldn't be unusual to check theories related to the seatbelts. While much was made of Diana's propensity to wear a seatbelt, she was not wearing one on the evening of the fatal crash. Both French and British examinations of the Mercedes found no mechanical issues that could have caused or contributed to the crash, and there was no defect in the seatbelt system. Why were none of the CCTV cameras in the tunnel operating at the time of the crash? So according to the independent newspaper, there were at least 14 CCTV cameras in the Pont d'Alma, I'm not French, I don't know how to say it, underpass, yet none recorded footage of the fatal collision, leading to speculation of a high-level conspiracy. Pascal Poulain was the room commander on Saturday, the 30th of August, 1997. He told investigators that staff tried to use the camera in the tunnel to view the crash site, but it was impossible, according to the Operation Paget inquiry. The screen showed only a blurred yellow light. We tried to manipulate the camera, that is, to use the zoom and maneuver it, in vain. We did not have control. By that, I mean that another section must have been using the camera and manipulating it, but it could also have been due to it being out of order. So you don't even know if your own cameras work? Get real. So the one of the biggest questions was, were the paparazzi really involved? So Diana was constantly hounded by paparazzi right up until her death. Could the photographers chasing the Mercedes have caused the accident or been part of a larger conspiracy? Neither the French nor English investigators found a criminal conspiracy in regard to the paparazzi, despite allegations they were deliberately chasing the car. Instead, France fined them €1 each for invasion of privacy, yet rumors persist about a paparazzi conspiracy, and in particular about the role of photographer James Anderson. I do honestly not partially, I blame the paparazzi at that time for a lot of it, only because they were so persistent and so negligent about privacy. Like, they didn't give two shits. They wanted to make money off pictures, and they didn't care what it took.
They were so obsessive over her.
So obsessive. And I think after their deaths, they actually started passing laws to limit the paparazzi. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's when they started making stricter regulations when it came to shit like that. Which, it's upsetting that it took that to happen.
Right.
What do you do? So what happened to the mysterious white Fiat Uno? Did a white Fiat collide with Princess Diana's black Mercedes before Henry Paul drove into the tunnel? Some media identify the driver of the Fiat as ex-security guard Lavan Than, who denies any involvement. Others name photographer James Anderson, who died in a car fire in May 2000, reportedly with a hole in his head, triggering even more conspiracy theories. Witness Sabine Duzon said she saw a white Fiat with Paris license plates emerge from the tunnel after the crash and described a tanned driver, a muzzled dog in the back, and the car's shattered taillight. Martine Montiel of France's Brigade Criminelle interviewed in the Channel 4 documentary investigating Diana, was among the first to arrive at the crash site and found white paint on the Mercedes, bits of broken taillight, and tiny pearls belonging to the princess. Nothing, however, is conclusive. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think it was just a crazy fluke, or do you think there was more to her death? What do you think?
I think there's way more to it.
She was too big of a figure, and I don't know. And it was just, so Princess Di was not an angel, nor was Charles. They both cheated on each other. That was just a marriage that was doomed to fail from the start. But I just can't help but wonder if there was so much bad blood that might have been something that contributed, because obviously they weren't happy that she was trying to be with Dodie.
Right.
But I don't know. We won't know. Not until we get to ask her on the other side.
Won't that be something?
Yeah.
To find out the truth about? I don't know. It's just, everything's just way too coincidental.
I think so.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Not that much stuff is coincidental. Especially over somebody like that has like a huge public like eye on her.
Right. I mean, and look at all of the progressive things that she was able to accomplish in the short time she had. It's hard not to think that it was on purpose.
Agreed. Definitely yes. A disgrace of a relationship.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. All right. Tag team, you're it.
Tag team, you're it. Okay. So I have some stuff pulled up on. I'm going to start with the Lindbergh baby. And it's controversial because there's some things about the killer that could make it possibly not him, like he was either framed or whatnot. But here we go. So it was March 1932, a kidnapper or kidnappers had climbed by ladder into a second-story nursery of the Lindbergh home near Hopewell, New Jersey, abducted the child, and left a ransom note demanding $50,000. The Lindbergh baby, dubbed the Eaglet by the press, was discovered missing by Betty Gow, the child's nanny, about an hour after. The Lindberghs notified the local authorities, who in turn ceded control of the investigation to New Jersey State Police. A search of the crime scene uncovered the ransom note on the sill of the open window and muddy but indistinctive footprints in the nursery. A ladder was discovered some distance from the Lindbergh house, broken at a point where two sections were joined, and footprints were found leading into the woods on the edge of the property, which, according to the FBI website, this was a 369 or 96 acre piece of property that they lived on. So can you imagine trekking through that?
Hell no.
Although, let's see. I lost my spot.
Mm-hmm.
I looked away. How dare I?
Damn it.
Okay, now this is going to be the hard part, because I'm just going to say, although H. Norman, because I'm going to slaughter the last name. If I can. It's German, if that helps you. Father of Persian Gulf War Commander General H. Norman, German last name, of the New Jersey State Police, was nominally the lead investigator in the case. Control of Control of many of the details was ceded to Lindbergh. 2 more ransom notes were received in quick succession, which raised the demands to $70,000 instead of the original $50,000. After various attempts to contact the kidnappers failed to bear fruit, a retired New York City teacher named Jane F. Condon placed an advertisement in the Bronx newspaper on March 8, 1932, offering an act as an intermediary between the Lindberghs and the kidnappers. The following day, Condon received a note from the kidnappers stating that they would accept him as a go-between. Over the following weeks, a cat-and-mouse game ensued. Condon communicating through newspaper columns under the name Jeffy. Looks like Jiffy. And the kidnappers secretly written messages at locations across New York City. On March 16th, Condon received the child's sleeping suit as a proof of identity, and within 2 weeks, the kidnappers demanded delivery of the ransom. On the night of April 2nd, Condon, with Lindbergh waiting in a car nearby, met a man whom he called John at St. Raymond Cemetery in the Bronx. He negotiated with John, getting him to agree to the original ransom of $50,000 in exchange for the location of Lindbergh's baby. John took the money and primarily gold certificates, the serial numbers of which had been recorded by the Treasury Department, and gave Condon a note that stated that the child could be found on a boat called the Nellie near Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. Lindbergh himself led the ultimately unsuccessful search for the Nellie. The team of investigators were forced to concede that they had gained nothing in return for the ransom, which is really unfortunate. Undaunted by the setback, the search for young Charles continued, and the serial numbers of the bills paid to John were released to banks and published in major newspapers. The case took a tragic turn on May 12th when the child's badly decomposed body was found less than 5 miles from the Lindbergh home. An autopsy found that the Lindbergh baby had been killed by a blow to the head during or shortly after the kidnapping. The U.S. Bureau of Investigations had until the discovery of the body been acting in a purely adversary capacity. On May 13th, however, President Hoover authorized the Bureau to serve a primary federal agency on the case, and the full resources of the U.S. Department of Justice were committed to the investigation of the crime. Public outrage led to the U.S. Congress to pass the Federal Kidnapping Act on June 22nd, 1932, the day that would have been Charles' second birthday. The Lindbergh Law made kidnapping across the state lines a federal crime and stipulated that such an offense could be punishable by death. Which it should have always been a federal crime.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's wrong. Let's see. The Bureau of the New Jersey State Police initially focused their efforts on Condon and the Lindbergh household staff, but no concrete leads emerged. Condon aided the Bureau in constructing a profile of John, and the gold certificates from the ransom payment began surfacing in the New York area. President Roosevelt issued an executive order on April 5th, 1933, stating that all circulating gold certificates must be exchanged for Federal Reserve notes by May the 1st, 1933, which this was done to prevent the hoarding of gold during the Great Depression. More than a year passed before the case had its major breakthrough when a service station attendant in New York City recorded a license plate of a man who had paid with a $10 gold certificate. Federal and local authorities traced the license plate to the Bronx residence of a German carpenter who matched the physical description of John. On September 19th, 1934, Bruno Hauptmann was arrested and a $20 gold certificate from the ransom pay was found on his person. Later, they found, after his arrest, $13,000 in gold ransom certificates in the garage, and was later identified by Condon as John. They had a handwriting analysis done with Hampton's. I know I just said Hampton, but that's what it's going to be from now on. They had analysis done on his penmanship, and stylistically it was consistent with the ransom note left by the kidnapper or kidnappers.
Hi, Tina. We are talking about the Lindbergh baby case.
Yes. Which I realized after I described the child that I should have had a trigger warning on that one, because I was like, ooh, I forgot how brutal that got, really.
Yeah.
Which is really sad that it was done with a child, and such a act of violence could happen just over some money.
Well, the fact that they killed the baby right away, and then they torture the parents and say, oh, give us this money and we'll give you your kid back alive, when that was never going to happen. How brutal can you be?
Mm-hmm. I know. I know he was tried and he was found guilty on it was February 13th, 1935. He had got the guilty verdict. A series of appeals reached the Supreme Court of December 1935 and were unsuccessful. Hampton was killed by execution in the electric chair on April 3rd, 1936. Did he do it alone? Did he have an accomplice that got away?
I feel like it was done by 2 or 3 people myself. I mean,
he only had 13,000 of the gold notes. So that just tells me.
Where's the rest of the money?
Yeah.
Did he spend it on something? Did they know that he...
And if he would have spent it, they would have known.
Right.
So someone, I think, left the country.
Very well could be. Bastards.
Probably like somebody else from Germany or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's sad. It's really sad. At least they got a good law passed. I don't know.
That's the thing that just sucks about any of this stuff, because you have to wait until something this tragic happens for a law to be enacted. Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
What? How does that make sense? But I digress.
'Tis the way.
So another really controversial death involving a child is the John Benet Ramsey case. I also vaguely remember this.
I remember that really heavily.
Yeah. I mean, I was only 5, so you would have only been 4.
Which is, I have really like early memories, and it's crazy that that's one that sticks out to me. And I think it's because as we were growing up, it was still talked about a lot. It was talked about for several years after that.
A long time. A long time.
It's still talked about.
Well, it's because her case is still marked as unsolved. They just really don't know who did it. I have my theory, but so JonBenet Ramsey was an American child beauty queen. She was the daughter of affluent parents. JonBenet was only 6 when she was murdered in her Boulder, Colorado residence on December 26th of 1996. Her murder, which is still unsolved, became one of the decade's most famous police investigations. In 2008, new DNA technology helped absolve the Ramsey family from any wrongdoing in her murder. However, recent 2016 evidence suggests that the DNA evidence is actually a mixture of DNA and more testing is expected to take place. To date, no one has ever been charged for her murder, and the investigation remains open over 2 decades after her death. So she was named after her father, John Bennett, and her mother, Patricia, who was also called Patsy. JonBenet Patricia Ramsey was born August 6, 1990 in Atlanta. She was the youngest of 2 children. Her older brother, Bert, was 9 at the time of her murder. JonBenet was an outgoing Southern girl who enjoyed being the center of attention, and by age 6, she had already won multiple pageant titles thanks to her bouncy blonde hair, poised smile, and glittery costumes. Her father, a multimillionaire businessman, and her mother, who was also a former beauty queen, she was Miss West Virginia in 1977, doted on their daughter in every way they could. Their luxurious home was plush with everything JonBenet needed to live a comfortable life. On the morning of December 26, 1996, Patsy called the police after finding a 3-page ransom note demanding $118,000 for her daughter's safe return. The girl's body, however, was discovered in the basement later that afternoon. JonBenet had a fracture to her skull, she had been sexually assaulted, and she was strangled with a garrote made from one of Patsy's paintbrushes. According to the coroner's report, JonBenet's official cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation associated with craniocerebral trauma, and her death was classified as homicide. Upon arriving at the initial crime scene, the Boulder Police Department had made crucial errors that compromised the investigation. Among the mistakes made, John was allowed to move his daughter's body from the basement, and he and Patsy were not interviewed separately during initial questioning. In the subsequent 4 years, no major leads were made, although the Ramseys became the main suspects. Much of the public viewed the parents as guilty after hearing about evidence that did not paint them in the most innocent light. John and Patsy gave inconsistent stories. Their media appearances made them appear culpable. The cryptic ransom note was discovered to be written on paper found at their house, and fiber retrieved from the duct tape that bound JonBenet's body matched the same fiber on Patsy's clothes. In December 1999, the Boulder grand jury voted to indict John and Patsy for their alleged role in their daughter's murder. However, Boulder District Attorney Alex Hunter decided not to charge them, citing insufficient evidence. After the case was dropped, the Ramsey family returned to Atlanta to escape the media glare and released the 2001 memoir, The Death of Innocence. 4 years later, Patsy succumbed to ovarian cancer at the age of 49. John claims he has lost his entire family fortune after being a multimillionaire in the 1990s. In 2016, JonBenet's brother Burke made a surprising appearance on the Dr. Phil show, breaking his 20-year silence about the case but bringing no new evidence to the story. Countless books, documentaries, and true crime shows have featured their own theories about JonBenet's murder. Outside of the Ramsey family, the media has also reported on others deemed suspicious, from the convicted child sex offender Gary Oliva to the housekeeper Linda Hoffman-Hugg to the electrician Michael Helgoff to even the town Santa Bill McReynolds. However, none of these people have been charged. So I talked about this with Mom because I had watched a documentary on Discovery Plus about JonBenet, and she thinks that it was the town Santa. There was some credible evidence that could possibly point to him. He was not the best kind of person to be serving as an advocate for children. I can't help but think that it was her parents, and there's too much shit stacked on them, and the fact that they just happen to get off. It's to me, it's very similar to like the O.J. Simpson case. Like if the evidence was fucked up. So like, I don't know. I can't. It just leaves a sour taste in my mouth. Like she was in the house. You would think if your daughter went missing, you would search the entire fucking house. Like, how do you not find her until later that afternoon? None of that makes sense to me. How do you not find your child? I don't know. I don't get it. It's a very aggravating case, I think.
Definitely. I have always felt like it was the parents or the mother, more specifically. But yeah, I could see it being the Santa. It's always something like that creepy.
I know, right? And if I remember from the documentary correctly, when they found the ransom note, not only was it made on paper from the house, which that part to me isn't that, well, I guess it could be, because if you're premeditating a ransom, one would assume that you would write the note out beforehand and just leave it. So I guess
because you know you're not going to have time to,
right. But they did handwriting analysis, and it was very similar, I want to say, to the mom's handwriting. Don't quote me. But it was, so it just, there's so many things that I think point to the parents. I don't know. Makes no sense to me. Tina says, makes me wonder if someone else in law enforcement knew who did it and made it a point to screw so much up evidence. I agree 100% because I feel like that's always the case. I mean, how do you just happen to mess up evidence on a high-profile case? And it's always the high-profile cases because the ones where money talks. And if money talks, well, anything goes.
And people are way more vigilant and like aware of what they're doing in that field already, let alone on a high-profile case. They're extra vigilant. They're going to be watching themselves extra careful every little move they make. Yeah,
100%. Not to mention the repercussions that are supposed to happen if something gets messed up. So, like, why does this always happen on these cases? Why does it just so happen that somebody, oh, shoot, I messed it up? Like, are you kidding me? How long have you been on the job? Ridiculous. So frustrating. It's very nitpicky for me because I took 2 years of forensic science and biotechnology, and it was hammered into our heads. Like, even when we did fake crime scenes, if we fucked up, that was our grade, because if we did that in real life, it would be our job. Where's the accountability? Like, if high schoolers can understand that, why can't the professionals?
Exactly.
Just throwing it out there.
I loved forensic science in high school.
That was the only homework I kept from high school. All of my assignments, everything from forensic science, everything. Kept in my binder.
I'll never forget, my cousin was in that class with me, and she pulled out one of my facial hairs and put it under the microscope so we could look at it.
Oh, I know.
Right off my chin, she just... Here, we're going to look at this.
I think a bunch of us, like, I think we spit on the slide to look at our own saliva to see how much, like, streptococcus we could find. And I'm like, does this mean we're going to quarantine people? Because, like, we all naturally carry it, so this might not be the best idea. So gross. We'd even grow bacteria in class, so that was super fun.
I loved growing stuff in science class like that.
Right? But then my biggest question was, so how do you guys, dispose of this stuff when we're done with the project? Do you just, like, let it out in the world and cause shit to happen? Or
hopefully they neutralize this somehow.
I don't know. We were never around when the disposal happened.
They just threw it in the dumpster. It's all right.
It's fine. It'll die.
You didn't even put it in a biohazard bag.
They just let it free. Let it free, my babies. Donna says, just like the Kathy Schwartz case in Three Rivers, the killer was this year after almost 30 years, but died in jail. And Tina says, I think you're right on the money. I think you're right. Money talked, and the real killer got away because someone was paid to screw up the evidence every time. And it's funny because, like, I was watching some documentaries today to kind of get in the mode for the podcast tonight, and it's on Discovery Plus. It's called Death by Fame.
Oh, I've seen that.
It's so good. So it goes through like celebrities that got famous and then unfortunately died. One of them was, oh gosh, what was her name? Christina Gimmick. She was on The Voice. She was only 22 and she was shot after one of her concerts. It was awful. And the guy that did it was just an obsessed guy. And they believe that he found out that she was dating somebody and that's why he killed her. Super crazy. But another one that I watched, well, I watched all of them, but the last one was about, I can't remember his name now. I had it. He was, I gotta look it up now. He was an actor in Fudge Muffins. I'm blanking on everything now. My brain doesn't want to work. Lloyd Avery II. So he really became famous in the movie Boys in the Hood in 1991. And that was when he was really brought out into the spotlight. And people that worked with him, they said that he was a really nice guy, but that he was like super intense when he would play the role of a gangster, almost like he wasn't playing a role. He was just being himself. And they found out that during the filming of, I want to say it was the movie Lockdown, when they were filming that, he had actually committed a double homicide a month prior and had almost gotten away with it. But eventually they did figure out that it was him. Like the LAPD had, apparently they have these cards where they keep all the gang monikers. So they have cards for every single gangster and whatnot. And they had one on him and they found out his moniker and eventually tracked him down. And he was only in prison for 38 hours and he was murdered. They said that he found God while he was in prison and was turning his life around and was being a good guy and trying to make up for everything. And they placed him in a cell with a Satanist who was in prison for life because he did unspeakable things and murdered his own sister. So I think that he was placed in that jail cell because somebody paid them to put him in that jail cell because the prisoner that killed him was such a high security risk that he was supposed to be kept by himself, and yet they put somebody else in the cell with him. So I think that's another example of money talks because I really think that they just wanted him to get off. But
all I heard, okay, Mom distracted me, and then I heard "get off." And I was like, "Whoa!"
Story of my life.
Lord have mercy. So, how was your anniversary dinner?
It was delicious as always.
Oh,
All
good.
the girls at the hotel say to tell you guys hi.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Did you have fish?
Yes.
How did I know?
And Justin said to tell you hi too.
Oh, hello.
So these mysterious deaths and like unsolved like deaths like has me thinking we should do one about mysterious like missing persons.
Oh, we can do that.
I mean, we could go on for days on that topic.
We can actually go over our investigation that we had in that town.
Oh, yeah. At the hardware store. Gambles?
Oh yeah, I remember you guys telling me about that.
There's a lot of information that's come to light on that.
Yeah. I think the
Sorry.
Are you?
No, she's not.
Oh, okay. So we have discussed the Lindbergh baby case. We have also discussed Princess Diana as well as Jean-Benet Ramsey. And then I was just talking about the docu-series called Death by Fame that covers celebrities that were basically killed because they got famous.
Well, Jean-Benet, anybody that's condemning her parents or brother, you should know better, because they did not have anything to do with that. They did not. Mom went to her grave in basically heartbroken. And if they really want to further the case, yes, I think law enforcement had a sidestep on it. And I think they need to reinvestigate the Santa Claus.
When I was talking about it, I said that you thought it was the Santa Claus.
Oh, I think they need to look further into him because of his past history,
Mm-hmm.
what he did the day of, and who he is friends with.
Mm-hmm. It's just a fucked up situation on that one.
It is, but you know yourself with social media and people that like to read gossip rags. Oh, the mom did it. No, the mom did not do it.
So I unfortunately am one of the people that think the parents had something to do with it. Not because of gossip rags, but because of evidence that was brought up. But
No.
I am not a convictor. It is just another theory out in the universe.
It is. It's another theory.
I'm definitely game with both. Like the Santa. The Santa's like that freaks me out anyway, so that
Right?
to me just screams guilty.
For real though. Ugh.
Yeah. But there was a lot of things that went on that, no. Don't even get me started because I have files on that too.
You do, huh?
Surprise!
So what else did we talk about?
Well, that's all we've covered so far.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, how about Marilyn
Princess Di
Monroe?
took up a lot.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, we didn't get to her.
Well, there's a lot of controversy about her death.
Yeah, there is.
And she had a lot of mental issues, in that era, trying to make her way. If it wasn't sex, it was drugs. Mom had a lot of mental issues. Actually tried to kill her once upon a time. That's how she ended up in foster care. That's how she ended up being molested from a very young age, all the way until she got out. She was married several times. Joe DiMaggio was, one of those men, and he abused her. Yet he sent flowers to her grave every year for her. I don't know if it was their anniversary or birthday. And they even came after he died. He had paid the account that far ahead of time. Because he truly did love her, but he didn't know how to treat women.
He was a dick.
She got hooked up with the Kennedys. And if you really want controversy,
Happy birthday.
you got it. Beautiful. She really was beautiful.
Mm.
But she started sleeping with JFK. And then she started sleeping with Bobby. And I think that was her demise, if that's what really happened. Because if you've watched the news show on Netflix, that now 60 years later, all these people are coming forward, and there's a group of doctors that have come forward and said, guess what? There's a lot of issues here. They know JFK wasn't killed by one person, which everyone suspected. I mean, you watch it over and over, and there's just no way. But that's the government, and Marilyn Monroe got involved with the wrong people, and I think she knew too much, which honestly she did.
Well, I mean, when you are the one that someone sees like they are comfortable enough turning to you to have an affair, they're going to be comfortable enough to open up to you and tell you things you probably shouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't work out well for her.
No, I'd say not.
That's life. That's what
Her-
happens.
Her
It's also come to light that she had a daughter,
really.
and it was proven through DNA. It was hers. She passed away. She was, I want to say, late 70s when she passed away, and it was just recently, within the last couple of years. So there's a lot of secrets out there.
Did she have any kids?
Not that I know of. I mean, I never researched her other than that. But I could.
I remember, like, I do this thing where I'll get on my little morbid tangents and I'll just hop down the rabbit hole. And if you go onto Google, I mean, you can Google just about anything, but you can look up pictures of like autopsies of celebrities. You can look up pictures of people seconds before they die. There's some crazy ass things available on the internet, let me tell you what. But you can actually see Marilyn Monroe's autopsy picture, and you can't even tell it's her.
No, you can't.
It's crazy.
And the things that whole night is screwed up. I mean, if you go through the records versus what's wrote down versus what happened, it's crazy. There was a lot of cover up, obviously.
Isn't it amazing also how like the people in the public eye like that, they all die the same, mysteriously overdosing.
You got it.
It's blamed on depression.
Mm-hmm.
You got
I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but why do they all happen like that?
Exactly.
Especially the ones they want to go away.
Because it's an easy way to say, oh, hey, they were nuts. They're going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
No. And with today's technology, it's getting easier to figure that out.
That's the thing that cracks me up the most. Like, technology has come so far, especially in crime scene investigation, and yet we still have these blunders that happen all because of money.
Pretty much.
All it takes is a slip of a bill to a police officer, and you got yourself destroyed evidence and a dismissed case. That's all it takes.
Well, not so much to an officer, but to anybody involved.
Mm-hmm.
If you find a crooked one, yeah, that's the way they're going to go.
And don't get me started on lawyers. But there are good and there are bad in every profession.
Exactly. We were just talking about this the other day, how like there's good police officers and bad police officers, ones that are paid off and ones that don't do that, like
that actually believe in what they do.
That's in any occupation.
Correct. There are bad teachers and good teachers. Like, come on, guys.
There's bad cashiers and shitty cashiers.
And I was the worst because I was a fucking bitch.
Get you. And you
Tina says technology has come so far and still every Bigfoot picture is blurry. So true, though.
Well, if he wasn't walking so fast.
Teleporting in and out, Tina, you wouldn't be blurry.
Maybe that's it. He's on a higher vibration than us, and our cameras, it's like he's blurry.
Could very well be. But he only likes, what was it, Chelsea? A specific kind of apple?
I don't know.
That's a story for another time.
I'm not going to disrespect the dead at this time.
That's right. Don't go there.
But
we can laugh.
Bigfoot does not disappear because porcupines eat his bones. Okay.
No.
Right. Please. Yeah. I wish people would drop that one for sure.
I mean, porcupines have been recorded to eat bones of deceased animals. That is available.
They do. They eat all bones.
Mm-hmm.
However, that is not the sole reason we cannot find a Bigfoot carcass.
No, it's not.
Good God.
I did some digging on that too, once upon a time. And there's claims that there was a full carcass of a Bigfoot found years ago. And they were having it shipped to the Smithsonian. And lo and behold,
it disappeared. Yep, they couldn't find it all of a sudden in their inventory.
Like, okay, who made that disappear then?
Mm-hmm.
But did it really exist?
Or is it a missing person?
Oh.
It was just the caveman that was frozen.
Hell, it's probably one of my cousins.
One of our hillbilly cousins.
Yep.
Not too far up in the hill.
I mean, they get pretty merry sometimes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you could pop on and say hello to everybody.
Yes.
Well, hello, everybody. I don't know who's on here, but hey.
It was wonderful of you to join us.
Yes. But we killed it.
We did.
Lisa?
Huh?
Where's Lisa?
I don't know.
Probably dog training.
Could be.
Yeah.
But we did it. Do we know what next week is about? Because I don't remember.
Oh, and I looked it up too and I already forgot.
Oh my God. Give me a minute, you girls.
I looked it up in the bathroom when I was in the
bathroom.
I was in the bathtub in the bathroom. I meant to say.
Oh, well, that's a good place to be.
Yes, especially after you work in a candle factory all day and smell like candles.
Well, you could
all together.
Shit.
Next week is another anime conversation.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh goody, we get to nerd out again. Aren't you guys so excited?
So is Maggie coming back?
We will find out next week.
Or Kristen?
We will find out next week.
Or both of them?
You have plenty of talking points behind you on the wall.
Yeah, no shit. I live and breathe animes. Like, I'm pretty sure I almost wear this shirt every show. Yes, I wash it. I am not a stinky otaku.
Eh? What?
I said, are you sure about that? Most anime nerds smell.
No, this anime nerd showers.
Yeah, we're clean nerds.
I wouldn't let you stink.
Listen, when we would go to the Youmacon, the giant convention, one of the rules on the badges: take a shower daily. Nobody likes a stinky otaku. Like, and
Hey,
they,
as long as I'm on here, though, I want to give a huge shout out, and a huge thank you to Cabin Zen for the beautiful candles that she sent me. They are gorgeous. You guys get a chance to get on Facebook and look her up. She's a doll. And she also put in another present for my birthday. I just opened it. And they're beautiful. Oh, my God.
You'll have to post it on our Facebook.
I will. And she is Damon's girlfriend. And Damon is our tattoo artist.
Mm-hmm.
They're just amazing people. He owns a Solid Metal Tattoo in Boyne.
Boyne City.
Boyne City, yeah. And our candle shop is right next door to it.
Correct.
So I made sure I left it on the table so Dad can smell it when he comes in.
Oh, that's awfully sweet of you.
I know.
With
It's
that.
like Conrad. I'll have to go bathe once he smells it.
I am literally a candle when I walk out of that place.
I bet you are.
But it's like walking into a store. I just have that store smell on me because it's like every scent mixed together.
Wow.
I think I'm the only one that can tell what scents I was running that day off my clothes. To everybody else, it smells the same.
That's crazy.
Because I can smell the scent over. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the plum one.
No. Yeah, if you guys haven't guessed, Conrad works in a candle place.
It's great.
He loves it. Well, on that note, my darling people,
that is it for tonight's show. If you didn't get to see it from the beginning, don't worry. It will be available for replay. For those of you that are rewatching, thank you so much for joining us. And what?
March, when we do potographs in Ann Arbor,
mm-hmm.
I just got wind of one of the bidding pieces that are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
We might have to drive the truck down.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's an antique baby carriage.
No, you don't need it. Somebody please outbid her. Good God.
And she's gonna give you a run for your money, so come prepared.
Bring
Yes,
every check
I
that you have.
and all the money goes to a good cause.
No, but seriously, please outbid her. She doesn't need it.
Yes, I do. Because,
No, you
you
don't.
know, all you wonderful people are sending me babies now, and I appreciate that.
And on that note, we're going to end the show. So it was good to hang out
Opening
with
a
you guys.
museum for me.
Everybody have a great night. Be warm, stay safe, and stay spooky. We'll see you next week.
Love you all.
Bye.